Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook video updated on Tuesday the 13th of March. Now, we're increasingly confident that some very cold air is going to move across the country again by the weekend. Not as severe as the last spell of cold weather, but nevertheless, for the middle of March, a significant cold spell on the way. Some further snowfalls down to low levels, focused on eastern regions, whilst many western mountains will stay frequently dry. I think as we go through into the start of next week, high pressure begins to build in, and dry conditions, chilly but quiet weather will be the story early next week. Let's have a quick look through the next few days first of all. And Wednesday to start with, we've got fronts edging in from the west, mostly affecting Ireland through the day on Wednesday. Spits and spots of rain in the air from time to time, mostly focused around far western coastal areas, but for many places you'll get away with a dry day, although the winds will be strong. And I think as we go through Wednesday into Thursday, fronts just continue to push their way further into Wales with some heavy falls of rain coming in there. Not too much of that ever getting further north, those fronts being blocked by building pressure to the east of the British Isles, but across Wales, perhaps into the Pennines, could just turn wetter, and the southeasterly wind that will develop into Scotland may just produce a lot of low cloud across south and southeastern parts with some dampness in the air from time to time. So there's the chart for Thursday, and severe gales across most of the mountains, Scotland and northern England. Powerful gusts coming down to lower slopes, blowing through some of the passes anywhere really to the north of high ground, seeing a squeeze of wind coming over the higher tops and those gusts coming down to very low levels, north of the Cairngorms, north of the Ben Nevis range in particular. The front is slow moving across the South Pennines into parts of the Lake District, with some on the northern edge of that just getting into Dumfries and Galloway. Northwest Scotland then is the driest place, but just watch for those gusty winds. Now into Friday, still a very windy day, widespread gales across the Scottish mountains, not quite so strong across England and Wales. Fronts still in existence, but difficulty with the exact details. Basically the idea of some persistent rain, increasingly snow down to lower levels across the eastern side of the Scottish Highlands as freezing levels begin to drop as that cold easterly air begins to arrive. Into the weekend, and high pressure focused over Scandinavia, drawing that very cold easterly air mass across the country once again. We've got some snow showers then feeding in and falling to low levels across eastern Scotland, the eastern Pennines, maybe very few reaching western areas, just depends what's left on this front across central and southwestern Scotland. I think much of Wales may well escape, but again, just watch the progress of any fronts that are left just hanging around from previous days. Local snow flurries would not be out of the question. A bitterly cold day then, temperatures only a few degrees above freezing even in the valleys and the glens. So freezing levels very low, you look at temperatures around -5, even at around 3,000 feet. The high pressure over Scandinavia begins to drift a bit more towards Britain by Sunday, centred over northern Scotland. We've got the easterly flow in place. The wind not quite as strong, but still a significant wind chill factor where you're exposed, and some further snow flurries coming in from the east, but many western parts looking dry and bright. This is how the model picks up on the snow depth then as we go through into Friday and the weekend. The pre-existing snow already in place across the Scottish Highlands, the east and the southeast in particular. But as we go through later Friday, some snow showing up on the chart across the eastern, northeastern side of the Pennines and the borders. And as we go through the weekend, you can really see that the snow likes to lie even to fairly low levels across northeast England and eastern Scotland, and maybe even through Saturday into Sunday, something coming into southeast England. For the mountains, though, you can see how there's very little, if anything, for Wales, across southwest Scotland and the west and northwest Highlands. Again, the focus very much on eastern mountains. Your temperatures at 850 millibars looking something like this. That's at around 4,500 to perhaps a bit nearer to 5,000 feet. So these values are slightly higher up than the highest Scottish mountains, but we can get the general steer of where temperatures are going. And through Friday into Saturday, that very cold air mass is coming back in from the east. First felt across those more eastern mountains, but through Saturday daytime, as I said, at 3,000 feet, Munro height, 900 metres, you're looking at -5. Higher up than that, you'll be that little bit closer to -10. Coldest probably on the Cairngorms. Saturday into Sunday sees that very cold air in place, so little change in overall temperatures. At around 5,000 feet, then you're looking at -8 to -10. You can come down a degree or so onto the higher Scottish mountains, but add on wind chill, it will feel bitterly cold. And to run through into the start of next week, just a gradual lift in temperature, nothing dramatic. High pressure will be centred somewhere across the country, so no great change of air mass. A chilly spell then, with temperatures staying sub-zero from quite low levels up. Looking at the charts going into next week, that's where we've been over the weekend. High pressure towards the north, then that's Sunday into Monday. We're pulling that east or northeasterly wind. Lightest winds across Scotland, and overnight temperature in some of the glens could be very low, below -5 in many places with light winds and clear skies. And almost anywhere could see some severe frost into the valleys and the glens early next week as high pressure settles in. The difficulty then is exactly where that high becomes positioned and whether it gathers up something of the high building from the Azores. If it does, eventually temperatures will lift through the week as a whole, but some indications would hang on to more of a northeasterly type of weather pattern. So the idea for the first half of next week and perhaps even beyond is still chilly temperatures, perhaps just a gradual lift as time progresses. A little bit tentative, but looking towards the Easter period, and the idea seems to be that high pressure remains focused towards the north of the British Isles, on this chart centred around Greenland and Iceland. Lower pressure is across the Atlantic and towards us, probably displaced further south than it might be common for the time of the year. So again, I think chillier than average conditions stay in place. The mountains probably staying sub-zero most of the time, with just brief periods of less cold air coming in. So the early indications towards that Easter period just stays on the colder side. Whether we see any further snowfalls or major dropping in freezing levels remains to be seen. I think the idea of the most unsettled weather being towards central and southern Britain, and perhaps the driest, brightest conditions across Scotland, with the West Highlands again faring the best for the least precipitation, with the wind flow commonly out of the east or the southeast, so it keeps that western side of Scotland looking drier. Those are just the overall trends for the end of the month. Very difficult to get the absolute detail for any specific day at this time, but it looks as though cold weather continues this winter, not going out without a fight at this stage. So we'll keep you right up to date with that progress towards the Easter weekend. The next Planning Outlook video will be updated on Friday. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.